It's the Profit Answer Man, Rocky Lalvani. I'm going to start with 2 quotes today from Dan Lok. How you run your business during the good times is a great indicator of how well you will survive the bad times. The second is the fastest path to profit maximization is reducing the drag of expenses, not building a bigger sales engine or pushing the growth expenses. We're going to talk about those concepts today. If you're new and haven't heard my interview with Mike Michalowicz, check it out. It's episode 2. If you want to hear about each chapter in the Profit First book, go back and listen to episodes 3 through 13. Episode 1 is the why and how. Here's the deal. 80% of business owners hate accounting, and I don't blame them, but you need someone to help you make good financial decisions. Many bookkeepers and accountants are not great at this. Plus, they don't think like you do. You need someone on your team to help you make great financial decisions that ensure you have the time and freedom to do what you love. Remember, more revenue doesn't equal more profit. That's why we focus on the bottom line. If you have a specific question, please email me, questions@profitanswerman.com. I read every email and respond. Today's guest is Tyler Ornstein, who loved the taste and smell of coffee from his first sip at 5 years old. But his dad couldn't tolerate it because it upset his stomach. One day, Tyler asked him if he could make a coffee they could both drink. So Tyler's dad, Ian, a biochemist, tinkered quietly behind the scenes until he did what no university research lab or megacorp could do. He created an acid-free coffee that anyone can drink without digestive disruption. And Tyler started his company with that coffee at the age of 14. If you want to learn more about his backstory, check out the full episode on Richer Soul. It's number 209. I'll put a link in the show notes. Let's meet our guest. Welcome to the Profit Answer Man, Tyler Ornstein. It's great to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Rocky. It's a pleasure, and it's all mine. And definitely, I'm really excited to dive in and really talk about what ails business owners.
And that's a sore subject, but it's one that we all have to face. So tell us a little bit about your business.
Well, I created the coffee that is the world's first and only organic acid-free coffee that doesn't give you heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, smooth, no bitter bite. Coffee that is neutral pH. And for people out there that want to drink coffee that doesn't like them back or bites them back, Tyler's Coffees is a solution for you.
How old were you when you started this business?
14 years old.
And how big is it right now?
Oh, well, we're not as big as Starbucks, but we're not as small as a mom-and-pop coffee shop. I mean, we have about 500 retail locations. We're on Amazon.com, Walmart.com, eBay.com, Wish.com. We've got probably over 15, 20 online retailers. Just in general, we're natural grocers, Hy-Vee's grocery stores. Jimbo's, we're growing by leaps and bounds, and obviously there's always more to acquire in your market share. But yeah, I remember selling a box of coffee a month, and now we're selling 10 pallets a month. So it's really grown.
Congratulations. So one of the things that we like to talk about is cutting costs, but it's appropriately cutting costs and doing it in the right way. And one piece of advice that I give to people is you need to pay your people well. What are your thoughts on that?
So I 100% agree with that. If you don't pay your people well, then they won't stay. And the people that you pay poorly are the people you don't want. Now, there is a caveat to that, right? So everything that is said in business always has a caveat or a devil's advocate. if I'm paying someone to do a remedial task that pretty much anyone can do, I'm going to pay, right at minimum wage. I'm not going to pay above that because there's no reason to. But if you're going to pay someone above minimum wage for a specialty job application that's in your business that actually makes you money, then you go above and beyond by about 20 to 30% of what the national average of that occupation is. And that is how you can kind of start looking at a better pool of candidates that are going to support your business at a faster growth rate.
And I look at it as a partnership. They're here to help you build wealth and build your business. And as part of that, you should hire great partners and reward them for their efforts to helping you grow. They're a profit center, not a cost center most often.
Now, I will say this: if you hire someone and you pay them well, and they don't perform to your duties of the job at hand, and they are not, essentially waiting on you hand and foot for what you need to have done in your business, then as fast as you hire them, you need to fire them, because there is an issue with a lot of business owners that they feel emotionally attached to their employees, and it's very, very sad and scared situation. And I think every business owner, in the beginning has gone through it, where they'll have people over, once they build a rapport with their employees, they'll have them over for dinner, and then they'll consider them friends, and then those employees will start slacking and more slacking and more slacking, and then things aren't getting done on time, and they're kind of back talking you. And so that's when you just have to say, I'm sorry, this is not going to work out, and go your separate ways. It's a lot of aspects of a relationship. In a relationship, there's a lot of flirtatious dating and really exciting stuff, and then after years on end, that's when the bitching comes out. And you kind of have to tolerate it. So I would strongly suggest, even though it might feel uncomfortable, separate your employees. Don't become friends with them. Those are their people to work for you, and to have you tell them what to do, and not the other way around.
And along those lines, though, we still treat them with respect, and we take good care of them.
Yeah.
So one of the things that happens in business is that I think we make a lot of mistakes. And sometimes I say to the question, if you could have prevented 3 mistakes, especially financial mistakes in your business, how would that have changed your outcomes? And for most people, it's pretty massive. But along the same lines is, even if we make mistakes, I think the big thing is not to make the same mistakes over and over again. What have you seen with business owners?
Well, I think business owners in general want to have a congruent success of what they're doing. I mean, I guess you could chalk it up to pride, or you could chalk it up to personal development, or you could chalk it up to a lot of things. Like, why does someone start a business, and what is the value for that? And I guess the ultimate goal in the whole situation is to make money and have more freedom, right? But getting there is a little bit of a struggle. I would say that the reason why business owners repeat what they think is a bad decision and expect a different result is because they're a little confused. I mean, I, as a business owner, kind of removed myself emotionally from the business, and at a young age, and I'm been very benefited by that. A lot of business owners will put too much emotion or too much energy into their business, and it really convolutes their judgment.
What do you mean by too much energy and emotion?
So, for example, here's a great example. We had a supplier that was doing our K-Cups. Great people, really nice, but then we realized that we could do it cheaper, and we could get rid of them, and we could bring it in-house. And most business owners would be like, yeah, but I built that rapport with 5 years, and he's a buddy of mine, and we talk on the phone about other things in business, and I feel bad, and I'm kind of the guy that goes, sorry, but we decided to go a different route. I guess that's a very common tactic for successful people, and that's how they get the stigma of asshole or dick or chauvinist or egotistical, is because they remove themselves out of the emotional situation and they only look at it in the logical sense. And those are the most successful people in the world.
But you don't have to be rude to people or rude to your suppliers. No. It's just a business decision.
It's a business decision, and that's what I'm trying to explain. It's very, very cut and dry in business. You're either making a profit or you're taking a loss. That's it. You could take any business in the whole entire world, and you could boil it down and simmer it down to: are you going to make a profit or are you going to take a loss? And there is independent business owners that, will start their business and they'll take a loss because their emotions overtake their profit. They're like, oh, I can't get rid of Sally. She's got 3 kids. And, I feel bad for her if I let her go. Well, guess what? You lose your business, you get rid of Sally regardless.
And that's very correct. And we always talk about taking profit first and paying yourself first, because you're the one who put up the effort, the work, and you took the risk, and you deserve that. And I know a lot of business owners put themselves last. And it's not to be rude or mean. It's just to say, if you are strong financially, then you can make sure that the business continues. Otherwise, as you said, if your business isn't strong and you go out of business, then everybody gets hurt, including people you may owe money to.
Correct.
But there has to be appropriate spending in the business. I know too often we're told you have to spend money to make money. What are your thoughts on that?
No question. You always have to spend money to make money. Well, what you need to look at is your ROAS, or return on investment. If I'm going to spend $30 to make $20 and take a net loss of $10, believe it or not, contrary to popular belief, that's okay. And I'll tell you why. If you can retain the customer, they can buy again. You can reabsorb your loss. But if you're saying, for example, you're going to sell a car to a customer and you're going to take a loss, well, you're not going to be in business for long, because that car's ROI is not, you're not going to come back a week later or a month later and say, hey, I'm going to buy another car. Usually, right? Like the normality. And so you kind of have to look at how much money are we going to spend to obtain, and what is the lifetime customer cost. So we're a subscription-based coffee business. Part of our online retail is subscription-based. So we would spend more money to attain a subscription customer, because we know we have an 80% retention rate, than we would spend to have a one-time customer. Now, we can't, quote unquote, dictate that. I mean, we can't be like, okay, well, we're going to put keywords on subscription-based people that are going to only buy subscription. No. But what we can do is we can kind of look at the numbers and say, okay, well, our retention rate overall, the corporation, is 80%. Out of that, we have a 30% subscription rate of the customer base. So we'll look at the ROI, and we'll look at the ROAS, and we'll take $100 and divvy that up. So if we're making an $8 conversion cost, that's where we want to stay.
And so, just to be clear, on your first order with the customer, are you losing money on that order? It's
not usually, but I'm saying that it's a possibility to do so, especially if you're a new product or a new business. If you're trying to get people, let's talk about brick and mortar, for example. If you're trying to get people into your restaurant, then you give out free coupons. You give out coupons for a free dinner or something like that. because what you're expecting is you're expecting the customer to come out, get a free dinner, and go, oh, heck yeah, I got a free dinner. I got a good deal out of the deal. It didn't cost me as a customer money for the dinner, but the dinner was so good that I'll remember this place when I come back in a month or so. I'll say, hey, where do you want to go eat? Oh, I know there's a really good place down the street. I ate there. And they were so kind enough to give me a free meal on the house for my first time when I brought in a coupon. Let's go there. Well, now that customer paid for the second meal, which covered the cost of the first meal.
And it's important that the second meal needs to cover the cost of
overall.
Oh, yeah. So we do need to know our overall numbers. What you're saying is sometimes you will spend a little bit more to acquire a customer, but if you're going to spend more to acquire a customer, it has to be somebody who's going to be a consistent repeat type of a customer. Because if they're a one-time buyer, then you can't survive long. And so that makes a lot of sense that we need to appropriately figure out our marketing and acquisition costs versus the lifetime value of a customer. And every business is different. Some have very low lifetime value. Some have consistent, very highly repeatable value. I drink coffee every day. So as a coffee customer, I'm constantly buying coffee. But as you mentioned, I don't buy automobiles very often. So you've got to do the math for what your particular area is. When we look at businesses, one of the things that happens a lot of times is that they go into debt. And sometimes they get into too much debt. What's your opinion on debt?
The only time you should buy debt is if you're going to make a return on it. Unless, there's positive debt and there's negative debt. So positive debt is a great debt to have. What I mean by that is I'll go into debt to buy inventory because I know I'm going to make a return on it. I'll be able to pay off the debt and I'll be able to acquire the profit and essentially push the profit aside into a separate account for later expenses in the company. Negative debt is, I worked my ass off for 5-10 years in this company. I now have a good credit score and I deserve a really nice car. I'm going to go buy a nice car and I'm going to treat myself. It's negative debt. There's no value in it. You're buying a depreciating asset and you're never going to see your ROI on it. Negative debt is very bad. Is it okay to do? No, not really. I mean, there's really no reason why you want to have a negative debt, except for pleasuring yourself with a trip or with a car or buying a house or something like that. But speaking strictly into a business mindset, a negative debt is very, very, very bad for the company. And the higher your negative debt climbs, the much, much, much higher chance you have of closing the doors and losing everything in filing for chapter. But positive debt is a very good thing, and I strongly believe that every big company needs positive debt to go to the next level.
But you've got to get a return on it. We talk a lot about vanity spending, and that's what I think you're referring to is you're taking on debt now for your vanity spending on top of the vanity spending, which was bad enough to begin with.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of businesses do have a lot of vanity spending. They think it's going to make a difference if they have a fancier office or a fancy car. It's going to impress their customers. But most often, it doesn't. No, they don't care, right?
No, especially with COVID, no one's going to businesses anymore. No one's, you have Fortune 500s that will spend $5 to $8 million on their entryway. It's stupid. It's flat out stupid. But they do it anyway because they think that they're building an impression and supposedly doing that. But I would much rather, if as a CFO of a company, I would not approve a C-suite budget for cars. I would approve a debt for absorbing more inventory or more assets. that would, like, if they said, if say we're a manufacturing company and we manufacture, well, let's say maybe we manufacture coffee, because we do. We wanted to produce a K-cup machine that would produce more K-cups at a faster rate and create more autonomy in the process, so we could hire less workers. So $200,000 debt, but we can do a 30-year fixed on equipment, and say it's a 6.5 ROI or 6.5 APR, and we're looking at easily 300 ROI year over year. I'll sign off that debt every day, every single day. But if someone came to me and said, hey, Tyler, it's time for, a car allowance for the C-suites, we think that it would be a good idea to drop an extra, $1.5 million over 6 guys. We all want to go out and buy Lamborghinis. Go buy it on your salary.
And that's very true. You said do you have a profit account?
Do I have a profit?
That you put money aside in? Okay.
Yeah, of course.
What do you use that for?
What do I use the profit for?
Yes. We
use it for pretty much, I won't say we pay off the debt, right? So we definitely use that to pay off the debt. We use that for marketing expenses. So if we want to do a campaign with Facebook or AdWords, we'll pull out of that. We use that for, our shipping expenses. We use it for, obviously, business expenses. And I think it's very important for the CEO and the C-suite and the employees, like you said, to be paid fairly. So, I take a salary out of the profit, of course, but that's profit. That's not debt. Again, there's 2 different variables here. There's this idea. A lot of business owners have this idea, and I'm actually going to say that I do it as well because I know how to manage money. But I use my credit card because I want the points, because the points gives me, other options that I can have, right? It's like, well, it's kind of free money, right? So as long as you want to put money on the credit card, you have to be able to pay the credit card. And I mean pay the credit card, not this, I'll pay it next month. Pay the credit card. If you cannot afford that, then you do a debit card, because that is the only way that you're not going to go underwater. And it's very structured. You have to make sure that you are extremely money savvy when you have a credit card. It is not free money. You owe it back. The only value that you get out of a credit card, in my opinion, is that you get a semi-longer term to pay, but then you're going to be paying APR percentage on your open line. And the other thing is you're going to get points, which is a cool thing. You can use that towards travel. You can use that towards Amazon. You can use that towards, whatever bank system you're using those points with. So that's a cool plus. It's a cool perk. But as a business owner, it's not good to just live off a credit card. It's very, very unhealthy.
And that's very true. What are some of the other mistakes that you see business owners make with spending?
I see a lot of, I call it shotgun spending. We'll put money here, we'll put money there, we'll put money there, we'll put money here, and we'll see what happens. For every dollar, you should make money back, and it's, I think business owners kind of get this, the more money they make, of course. I mean, let's put it this way. Like I said, started selling a box of coffee when I started the company. Now we're selling pallets. So there's an inflated ego for sure. But you have to respect it. So funny enough, I mean, this is kind of an interesting segue, is all my cars equal, $80,000, maybe $90,000. And all my cars have 500 plus horsepower. Now, reason why I have 500 plus horsepower is because I love having the power, but with the power comes great responsibility. And it trains me into saying, yeah, I can do that on the road, but I'm not going to because it's unsafe and not a good idea. But then when I do get that open area on the road, I'll punch it. Same thing as business. Yeah, that's a good idea, but doesn't make sense to me right now. So I'm going to wait, and then when I find out a good solution, I'll punch it and I'll put money towards it. And we'll kick it into gear.
How do you evaluate that up front?
How do I evaluate the decisions I make in business?
The spending decision. Like, how do you decide, yes, it's time to punch it?
There's a lot of variables that kind of go into the decision making. I would say a big plus for any business owner that's listening to this podcast: make a T-chart and do your pros and cons. And if your cons outweigh your pros, there's probably a good reason why you shouldn't do that decision. If the pros outweigh the cons, there's probably a good you should do the decision. Have I done things where I've gone against my own judgment and said, screw it, I'm going to do it anyway? Yeah. Did it bite me in the ass? Yeah. Listen to your gut. Listen to your intuition. Your intuition's probably pretty right, I would say. Like, 80% of the time it's right. So when you have a decision that you have to make in business, like we all do, the most important thing you don't do is make a fast decision, because if you make a fast decision, especially with money, it could really hurt you bad. It could really burn you.
And so it sounds like you take the time to run the numbers, ensure that they're correct, and think it through before you make your decision.
Absolutely.
So what's been the secret to your business success?
Well, I would say the number one success to our business is that we have the world's first and only. So we have a very interesting blue water territory in a $1.6 trillion industry, and we're very unique in that standpoint. If we were a standard coffee on the market shelf, the only thing that we would be working with is price and cost of goods. And, obviously we would want to make a little bit of a margin, but we're a different breed in that. We're unique in that no one can actually create the product that we've created.
So you have a unique market niche.
We do. And I think niches are the best way to make money. So you take an industry, like, for example, Uber Eats or, now there's Grubhub and Postmates and all that fun stuff. There's so many now. But, I thought about that. And I'm not saying I'm not the only one that thought about it, obviously. But I was like, man, why is it only pizza places or Chinese food that do delivery? Why can't it be everyone that just picks up food and delivers it? And someone figured that out. Someone put the time, energy, effort, went and got the, venture capital, explained the idea to the decks of people that want to invest, got it together. Now they're multi-million-dollar corporations. And so when you look for a business to invest in, or real estate, or products, you got to find the wow factor. And if you don't have that wow factor, if it's just rice and beans, you're going to be playing a price game, and there's a very strong chance that the bigger player will be able to price you out of the market.
And even in a big market, you can create your wow factor, because when you look at it, coffee is a big, in many senses, price-sensitive market, but you were able to carve out a unique niche that was separate than everyone else, and you have somewhat of a moat that prevents other people from competing against you. So it's not that you can't go into a large market. You've got to figure out a way to build that wall around you so that you have the ability to do that. You talk to a lot of business owners. I know like you like to mentor a lot of them. What are some of the biggest things that people should know and can take advantage of from your advice?
Well, and that's a good question because it's very open-ended. I would say this. You got to have a hard stop. And I know that sounds hilarious because you're like, wait, well, no, I just got started in business. You go, yeah, I get it. You have to have a hard stop. And a lot of people don't have hard stops because they put emotion before they put profit, or they put emotion before they put business, or whatever. They're emotional people. Humans are emotional beings. I mean, my girlfriend tells me all the time, you've lost all emotion, you're emotionless. And I go, yes, that's correct. Like, blatantly understanding, yes. I live in a world of black and white, and a lot of people live in a world of gray. And it's either right or wrong, yes or no, on or off. And that's kind of what a business owner has to, in order to be successful, has to become. Now, do we support 503(c)s? Do we support the charities? Do we support, underprivileged people? Of course we do. But that doesn't mean that we are not a savage business that looks at the bottom line and says, okay, are we going to make that decision due to the bottom line, or are we going to hold off and make a different decision? And again, I mean, I'm kind of repeating myself, but I think business owners, a friend of mine, let's put it this way. A friend of mine, he's got a local cleaning service. He cleans homes, has people clean homes for a living, and he does pretty well. And I sat down with him and I said, what's your customer acquisition cost? And he goes, I don't know. Okay. What is your cost for cleaning? He goes, I don't know. I was like, how are you making money? And he's like, well, we get cleanings and then they pay us and then I pay the people. And I'm like, yeah, but are you making money? He's like, well, not really. And I was like, well, there's your problem. And he goes, he's a friend of mine, right? And I'm kind of being a dick to him, but I was like, well, I mean, you asked, so I'm telling you. Because they're like, how did you get so successful? It's like, because I don't look at emotion. So come to find out, this one lady was cleaning for him and was charging him, $30 an hour, and he was making, $34 an hour. So he's only making $4 profit. And I told him, I said, you need to fire her. And he goes, oh, I can't. She's got kids. And I said, it doesn't matter, man. He goes, well, what do you mean? I said, either you drop her pay or you raise your prices. But if you raise your prices, you price yourself out of the marketplace for this area of town. You would have to show a better benefit, and that's kind of hard when you're doing a standard cleaning. So you either have to drop your prices or increase your profit, or you got to fire her. And he goes, well, I can't do that. And I was like, so you're going to lose money on every deal. And, talked to him a month later, and he goes, I fired her. I said, yeah, man.
And it's, at the end of the day, you can't run a business that's running in the negative. And no. I see that happen a lot where as businesses grow, especially, they just add too many people. And it becomes to the point that they are now in the negative, and that is a struggle. So I concur with you on that.
So here's the formula, guys. Every single person that you put in your business has to make at least over $150,000 a year for the company. If they don't make over $150,000 a year for the company, get rid of them.
Well, how do you say that? How do you say that with somebody who's minimum wage?
Well, okay, I'm sorry. I'm talking about we're talking about salespeople. We're talking about marketing people. If you have an AP and AR, or you have a boxer for your product that just boxes a shipper person that just ships your stuff, that's not. Those are quote unquote just cogs in the wheel. And I know that sounds really kind of brash, but that's just what it is. I'm saying that if you're going to pay someone above minimum wage, and you are going to pay someone that, quote unquote, had an education, went to a 4-year college, has a degree in the field that you're looking for, they have to be making you over $150,000 a year, because they're obviously wanting a $60,000 salary. I mean, that's the average going salary of someone that did 4 years and has a degree. It could be different. I mean, in California, it's much higher. In New York, it's much higher. In Wyoming, it's, probably $40,000 a year, right? So I'm just taking an average here. For $60,000, you're going to pay this person. And say, all right, person, I'm going to pay you $60,000 a year, but here's the deal. You got to make me over $150,000 a year in the company. And if they don't, find someone that will.
And so that works out to about 2.5 times salary.
Correct.
To give people a good number that can apply in their area. So if you've got to hire somebody at $100,000, they need to bring in $250,000 of value into your business. Otherwise, that you will struggle and you will have problems. And I think that happens a lot. And I think a lot of times, though, people bring in staff who are there to help with the process, and you end up with too many process people. So you've then got to figure out, how do we streamline our business and how do we make it more efficient so we don't need all of these?
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Any closing thoughts for our listeners?
Yeah. So it's important that you, if you're starting a company, that you do not get emotionally attached to your company. Only look at the spreadsheet. Only look at the P&Ls. Only look at, the data. Because a company is like a human. It produces data. It produces a track record. And if you feed a human, quote unquote, subhuman food like fast food or candy or all this, not immediately are you going to see side effects. But you keep doing that year after year after year, and then you're going to start seeing some horrible side effects. And that's the same thing as a company. If you start chipping away at the profit year after year after year, you can go negative, and the emotional business person is going to say, oh, well, I got to take care of Sally and George and Sam, and the investor is going to say, no, we're going to take care of the company first. And so I think that's where a lot of fights happen, where a business owner makes a company to a point where investors want to come in because they see the return on investment is high. And then they get in a fight because one cares more about the people and the other one cares more about the money. And you being the business owner and the end all be all, it's time to man up and tell people what to do. And if they don't do it, fire them.
We're doing a lot of firing today.
I'm a big believer of firing your people. I really am. I've fired over 50 people in my company over the years I've been in business. And I fill those positions as fast as I fire them because, and people say, oh, turnover is the biggest thing in business. It is. I'm not going to disagree with that. Turnover, it does kill businesses. But on the other hand, having stagnant people that don't do their jobs kill businesses faster. So it depends on how you want to look at it.
And that is very, very true. Very, very true. Well, thank you so much for joining us. If people would like to find you, learn more about your company, connect, what's the best way for them to do that?
So we are actually on the Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale. This is right before Thanksgiving for anyone that's listening, after Thanksgiving. So I do apologize if you didn't catch the sale. But right now, we have a great sale going on. TylersCoffees.com, or you can just Google acid-free coffee. We're all over Amazon and Google and Facebook. But TylersCoffees.com is the name of the company, and world's first and only acid-free coffee.
Cool. And I will put that in the show notes to make it easy for people.
Great. Well, it was a pleasure, Rocky, and thank you so much for your time. And I hope some insight was fed.
Plenty of insights. Thank you so much. I enjoyed getting a chance to talk to Tyler again. He is direct, and as a business owner, sometimes we need to hear that and take action. Are you guilty of vanity or ego spending? It's okay. We can fix that going forward. You also need to ensure that your employees are productive. I always like to create a great work atmosphere where they can strive and grow. But I've learned that not all people want to do that. And if that's the case, you need to remove them. As I mentioned before, Tyler was on episode 209 of Richer Soul, and we dive deeper into his backstory and his business principles. I'll put a link in the show notes. Remember, profit is not an event, it's a habit. And you don't need more resources, you need to be more resourceful. Remember, we focus on the bottom line, and we think our way to a solution versus spending our way to a solution. If you want help, I can help you as your Chief Profitability Officer because you have your zone of genius and that's where you want to focus. I only work with a handful of clients so they can get my full attention. I usually work with business owners who have or are growing to $500,000 to $5 million in revenue. There's a scheduling link in the show notes to get on my calendar so we can chat and see if we're a good fit for each other. If you want to learn about living the life of your dreams, check out my other podcast, Richer Soul. As we close out, let's repeat the mantra. Revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is king. Let's grow and thrive.